Greetings, Force users, and welcome back to Inside the Tauntaun, a Star Wars podcast where we get to the guts of what makes Star Wars meaningful to us. Thank you for joining us today on a very happy May the 4th. Today we are talking about Clone Wars, the final season, created by George Lucas, written and directed by Dave Filoni, and we're also going to talk about The Bad Batch, because that's coming out today. We're stoked. Thanks so much for being here. And by God, we're Star Wars fans.
You didn't introduce us.
Oh, I didn't. Well, should I do it again?
Don't you care?
No,
Nah.
I don't want to. No.
I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
Star Wars Inside the Tauntaun. This is our podcast opening song. Alyssa, Daniel, and Dino talking about Star Wars. Like and subscribe.
This is a solo podcast now.
Oh my God, a Han Solo podcast?
Han Solo.
Well, hello there.
That's Dino. And that's Daniel. Sorry about that, everybody.
No, you're not. We all know
not,
you're trying
and
to.
Honestly, you all know.
This
Exercise
is
a
Alyssa
hostile.
podcast. Welcome to talk about a lesbian Star Wars story. Yeah.
That's what this is. It's the
Yeah.
lesbian agenda at work.
That is correct.
Mm-hmm. You know what? And it's about time. Honestly, it's about time.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with it, read my collected works. I've been doing some serious research.
Great.
The
So glad
lesbians
to-
are reclaiming their time.
Oh, wow. May the 4th. It is here.
Happy May the 4th.
May the
Do you
4th
remember
be
what we
with
were doing
you.
May
Last-
4th of last year?
Last May the 4th, we
The exact same
were
thing.
doing the same thing. Yeah.
We're doing the exact same thing.
We were in 3 different places, recording on Zoom.
But we're so much
and-
fancier now. I was in my dining room like an idiot with all the echoes and the
Refrigerator
and the refrigerator
sounds.
noises. Oh, geez.
Yes,
and
we've
the
come a long
neighbors.
way.
Yeah, setup is better, and, you know, things in the world are looking more hopeful and brighter
And-
as well. All 3 of us are fully vaccinated, and
Oh, yes.
Huzzah.
we are able to be in the same place to record again, which is great.
But we haven't
and
quite figured out the tech yet, but we will, and it's going to be
we
dope.
will.
Believe it or not, we're not sound engineers, and I know that surprises
Weird.
you. But,
Shocking.
because apparently, and I've just heard this offhand, that you have to go to school for that. Which I think is ridiculous because it takes no skill
Silly.
whatsoever.
Come on.
Some people are just self-taught and incredible, though, to be
That's
honest.
true.
It's true. It's true. It's very true.
Or they take a couple contracts and learn how to do it. And
Yeah.
I did this session like 2 weeks ago with this guy who, no joke, like was probably one of the best engineers I have ever worked with. And on a bathroom break, he told me that he's normally just, you know, a music guy, music director, and
Okay.
during the past year of the pandemic has just taught himself how to do everything. I was like, you have got
It's
to be
incredible.
kidding me.
I mean, here's the
Uh,
thing. I got to give us all
yeah.
credit where it's due, though. I mean, like, because all 3 of us have been sort of like thrust into becoming engineers. And I feel like we're doing all right,
Yes.
you know? We came a long way.
We do
Yeah.
we do what we can.
We do
what we can. It's a brave new world.
And the purpose of it is just that we can all talk to each other about Star Wars and be excited about that.
And we have so much Star Wars content coming.
Yes.
It's happening. It's happening.
And specifically today, which is not actually today because we're recording earlier than May the 4th, but
Don't tell them that.
I'm sorry. That's
Ruined-
just the way
That's
that
how
these
conspiracy
things
theories
work.
are
This
formed.
isn't live, damn it. But, oh my God. We'll just pretend, oh my God, you guys, I can't wait to watch The Bad Batch today.
I
It's
can't
coming
wait
out
to watch
today.
it tonight.
Oh, the magic is gone.
Yes. So we thought in preparation for The Bad Batch, which we have been really excited about, that we would kind of do a Clone Wars final season chat, which we have never done.
Yes. Preparation.
Yeah, we didn't talk about what was
66.
which was maybe like the best Star Wars to come out last year, and I am including Mandalorian season 2 in that.
Yeah, could be. I mean, my God, that just specifically that one episode, the Phantom Apprentice alone was some of the best Star Wars.
That last episode, that last 4 episode arc.
The arc.
Yeah, the whole arc is just incredible. And so, I mean, okay, first of all, if you haven't watched Clone Wars, I know I've said this 1,000 times, but what is wrong with you?
You had an entire year of being forced to do nothing.
Please, God, please watch that show. It's so good.
And
it really
if
is.
you were like me and kind of had a little bit of a hard time getting into it at the beginning, honestly,
same. Same.
I would just recommend. It's not going to be quite as impactful, but watch the final season.
Yeah.
And have that, blow your mind and then be like, okay, now I need to, do it in weird Star Wars order. Do it
right.
in the middle of the story and then go back.
There was a great, and shoot, you know what? After the podcast, I'll find it and we'll post it with our Instagram post or something. But there was an article that gave a list of specific Clone Wars episodes to like watch before season 7 to kind of like get you, up to speed. Because really, like the more important ones, the more important ones to catch up on are the Clone Wars episodes that starts with the red Clone Wars logo, which is basically like the episodes that are going to revolve around the Darth Maul story arc.
Yeah, anything to do with the Mandalore really is useful for your Mandalorian watching as well.
Yeah, very much
because
so.
This is all part of what we'll call the wider Filoni-verse of Star Wars.
Filoni-verse! Oh my God, trademark.
Where the Mandalorian derives a lot of its storylines and characters now from things they set up in Clone Wars, and then they later carried on into Rebels. And so this is kind of becoming, I wouldn't say necessary watching yet, but
I mean,
just a level below that. It's very important.
It adds so much flavor. I mean, especially to the prequel films. Like if you want a newer, like more deeper appreciation for the sequels. I mean, sorry, the prequels. It's totally required watching, at least in my mind.
Or if you felt like the prequels ruined the entire franchise, I would also recommend watching Clone Wars because it's masterful in its ability to take, different story arcs and stuff and give them more
meat,
meat and deliciousness. So,
right.
Yeah, it's super fantastic, and I loved Rebels. That's still my favorite.
Your cup of tea.
Animated
and
series.
we'll plug it if we've still got a few months to go, but almost a year ago we released our audio drama adaptation of Twilight of the Apprentice from Rebels. If you haven't,
which is one of the best episodes of the series.
Yes, you can find it on YouTube. I still can't believe we did that.
Yeah, I still can't believe you did that, Dino. Oh my God.
Well,
I'll remind people who or tell people who haven't or just started listening to us now. But when we did this, we were just like, oh, it's gonna be this cute little Zoom read, and we're just gonna all sit around the campfire and read a script because we
funny voices.
Yeah, and do funny voices. And then he sat down for how many weeks?
Well, it was kind of like. It was like pulling a thread at a sweater because
totally.
He started out and kind of did lots of sound effects and amazing Samuel Kim's music underneath the first couple minutes of it, and then
oh my God, what
and then it was like, oh well, now that we know
there's no
what
turning
that
back.
Feels like, there's no other option.
And down
it was a mistake,
and
I don't think we ever truly, like Daniel said, we never truly discussed what we were doing with it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
No.
I put some music at the beginning and a little ambiance sound effect for a cockpit. It's like, oh God.
No, this sounds so
God.
cool.
Yeah,
And
very
then
cool.
and then it became a big old
And then
bag of worms.
Then 4 months later.
Worth it. But yeah, Rebels is dope too. Very,
Yeah,
very dope,
Rebels is
and adds so much depth to Star Wars. But yeah, and also like just in this last season, this is what I liked about the most. I think about the last. Well, maybe not the most, but just very masterful by in regards to Filoni. The last season did a number of things. It was like the first chunk of the season was kind of connecting that show to the rest of the Star Wars universe, like outside of the films. And actually just like even the extra like side films like Solo and Rogue One, but also like Mandalorian and just like very much introducing these little tidbits here and there to attach it to the greater Star Wars universe. And then the last chunk was sort of attaching it to like basically all 3 trilogies of films, like the prequels, the originals, and the sequels.
Right.
So yeah, it's really just like he did such a good job. Like, and there's just so many little Easter eggs to kind of connect the dots with every single series. Like even the even the droids have like silly little lines like oh gosh, one of them says like what's going on? Like it was basically an exact quote of the stormtroopers from A New Hope. Little stuff like that, just really, really cute.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of connecting it to the wider universe, and you mentioned Solo, you start to see the breadcrumbs laid for something I don't think they've even technically planned yet.
Yes, exactly what I was getting
at the time, with the Lando series coming out to Disney Plus,
and maybe even the Ahsoka series potentially.
Potentially, but I mean, it really sets up the themes that kind of get explored in Solo with Darth Maul as the head of Crimson Dawn. You see Dryden Voss, Paul Bettany's character. You see him in a hologram of all the kind of crime lords who work under Darth Maul. So it's setting up this like seedy, and even Maul says it. He's like, I'm, there's no competing with the Sith. Sidious is unbeatable. So what I'm going to do is capitalize on kind of building a gross underbelly under the Empire, a criminal empire that he can profit from, and
that's another
seek
thing
revenge.
too that we've chatted about this before on the pod, but we're so glad that they had created another platform for Maul, because he's such a rich, interesting, awesome character. And to have
and
only
so beautifully acted too.
Oh yeah, Sam Whitaker. I mean, like to have that alone from a series is like amazing. But they gave us so much more. It's just awesome.
Yeah, Maul. I love what they do with Maul in this last arc. It shows his treachery, his anger, all the things that made him a Sith. But it also shows just the brokenness, the betrayal, and then trying to convince Ahsoka to join him, which is such a wonderful line of poetry in Star Wars.
Yeah,
you always have that one person reaching the hand out to someone else. And
yes, join me.
How privy he was. It's so interesting to note how privy he was to his master's endgame.
Right,
like he knew what was coming. And there's just this sense of foreboding of like, you guys have no idea.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like,
he even
it's
says,
so bad, even I wasn't fully involved in the planning of it.
He says
like,
a
it's
line. He basically repeats almost the exact same thing that Leia says in the sequel films. Always in the shadows, always watching, or whatever. Like that is something that like both of them say, which is like another like connection that they're making with the films. But yeah, it's the fact that like,
I mean, the sense
Maul knew everything all along.
Right, and the sense of dread, like he's
worried
about it.
Yeah.
And
my God, his last final like primal scream that he makes as he's getting like taken away. He's like, "We're all gonna die!" we're all
You're all
gonna
gonna burn."
burn or whatever. Yeah. Oh my god. So haunting
Ugh.
and amazing.
Yeah, talk about making Order 66 far worse than, I don't know, even Revenge of the Sith portrayed it. And that was I remember that being pretty harrowing, seeing that for the first time, seeing all the Jedi gunned down.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
This
Yeah.
just adds a whole nother psychological layer to Ahsoka feeling of like a visceral something's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can see Maul feels it, and of course her connection with the clones.
Yeah.
That's been a ticking time bomb since the beginning of the series. If you understood where it was leading.
Yeah, because we don't really get the relationship, but that's because these clones, like, each Jedi master basically had like their little group of clones that would like help them and follow them around. So they all developed like a deep bond with some of these people, because like and I think that this is what the show does so well, is it shows us that each of these clones are not just like, they're not robots. They all
they're not
have
carbon
like a
copies
soul.
of each,
Right.
Yeah, exactly. They all have feelings and like friends and relationships, and so when you watch the prequels again and like knowing all of that, it just makes that moment so much more complicated and sad and
Oh my
so
gosh.
sad.
The relationship, the way that they wrote the relationship with Rex and Ahsoka is
Ugh.
one of my favorite Star Wars relationships.
It's
honestly.
so great.
I love
Yeah.
it so much because
He cares for her so much.
Yeah,
and vice versa.
Yeah, it's just that's the thing that I love, and I've talked about this before. That's the thing that I love the most about Star Wars are these very, the opposite of like a one or a two-dimensional relationship in an action or a sci-fi fantasy film.
Yeah.
Right.
They dig in so deep to those and why these characters behave the way that they do, and so it's just like
Right.
always a fascinating and beautiful study of humanity
Yeah.
within the Star Wars realm,
Totally.
Yeah, he literally had to fight his programming
Oh my
to not
gosh.
kill her.
and you can
And-
see that in him. I mean,
that
he's so
animation-
confused at what is going on, but he's doing it, and then it is just so. Ugh. Yeah.
Kudos to the animators too, and it's just a wonderful like marriage between the animators and the actors, because like working out that subtlety in like the acting choices, I'm doing quotation marks, like with the way that the animated, it's just so brilliantly done, because you get all of that It's the and that's another thing too that you'll see if you watch the entire series from beginning to end. Like they have improved upon their animation skills, like
Yes.
so much.
Just as like a little reminder to myself, I watched a few minutes of the pilot episode today, and then watched the final 2 episodes of the series, and it is night and day different.
Yeah.
And it took me a little while to get adjusted to the animation style at the beginning in the first place.
Same.
But
Right.
oh my gosh, like specifically the final shot of the series,
Whew.
it does not look animated. It
Oh no.
looks legitimately like live action.
Yeah.
Or at like the very worst, like motion captured,
Right.
kind of that video game
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, it's
yeah,
just
totally.
level
so
of realism. And
so beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, should we just kind of do like a Siege of Mandalore 101, Order 66 101 for those that maybe didn't watch the show, that are
Sure. Yeah.
thinking of joining in on Bad Batch and not watching anything else before.
yeah, fire away.
All right, so this is on Wikipedia. The Siege of Mandalore, also known as the Battle of Mandalore or Attack on Mandalore, which engulfed the Outer Rim world of Mandalore at the end of the Clone Wars, was a battle that saw a Galactic Republic military intervention on the side of the rebels against those loyal to the Shadow Collective during the Mandalorian Civil War. Former Jedi Padawan Ahsoka Tano and Clone Commander Rex led a division of the 501st Legion of Clone Troopers to apprehend the former Sith Lord Maul, who controlled Mandalore by proxy via puppet leader Prime Minister Almec. Maul, having had visions of the coming of the fall of the Republic and the rise of the Galactic Empire under his old master, Darth Sidious, had intended the battle as a trap for Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi and his former apprentice. Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker, wishing to finally take his revenge on Kenobi and to kill Skywalker so that Sidious could not make him his new Sith apprentice. However, Maul's plan was foiled when the two Jedi were called away to the Battle of Coruscant instead.
Coruscant.
Although Rex and Tano succeeded in their mission, the issuance of Order 66 by Supreme Chancellor Sheev Palpatine disrupted their effort to transport the captive Maul to the Jedi High Council, and the rise of the Empire rendered the victory essentially meaningless. The Empire seized control of Mandalore and occupied the world, establishing an Imperial Academy. So that's the Siege of Mandalore.
Dun, 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 dun. And not to be confused, because I think I sort of was when I first started watching The Mandalorian. Not that siege. Different.
Right.
Different siege.
No, it's not the Purge.
Not
there's
the
a siege and then
Purge.
there's a purge.
The Purge comes after the Empire has taken Mandalore.
In case you're confused, like I was.
So actually, that summary is good because if you're about to jump into Mandalorian, hop on over to Wikipedia and
Absolutely.
just give that
Get a
the
little
once
brief
over
thing,
because that is super
Yeah,
helpful.
3 paragraphs. Get a little bit of info there.
And it definitely kind of sets up Bo-Katan and like her
Yes,
her needs
the line
and
of
wants.
succession for the Darksaber and what was particularly brilliant about the last arc was how it created kind of 2 parallel paths that to basically connect the movie to Revenge of the Sith,
right.
kind of instantaneously when Anakin and Ahsoka have been reunited, really for first time in a long time since Ahsoka left the Order. They get a few fleeting moments.
He gives her a lightsaber
together, and he presents her with 2 new lightsabers, and the Clone Force
and they're blue, just like his,
having their armor colored to look like her. You get to see for the last time like pure Anakin.
Yeah, the humanity.
Before it takes a really deep dive or steep dive not long after he and Obi-Wan have to run off, and I love that moment where they're like, Coruscant's under attack, we need Kenobi and Anakin. It's like we got to see the absolute moment before, which is so awesome. And then
Very
to know
cool.
while you're watching Revenge of the Sith that the Republic's out fighting on Mandalore too, and you have this
Right.
whole thing with Darth Maul, and it adds this fullness to what was already by far the best movie in the prequels.
Hands down.
sure.
Hands down.
Hands down. A lot of younger people think it's their favorite. I don't want to say think. They say it's their favorite Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I
which,
don't agree with it, but I mean,
I know you're wrong, but no, its high points are as good as any moments in the series.
Totally agree. Yeah,
and I love that this show kind of wrapped its arms around, like you were saying at the beginning, Alyssa, that it kind of wrapped its arms around the prequels and enhanced the viewing experience.
Yeah.
And the fact that within they had 7 series, and the first, I think the first 4 or 5 seasons, sorry, not series, for first 4 or 5 seasons were 22 episodes. So they were lots of episodes, and the final couple were 12 or 13. But the fact that they kind of in that 7 season span were able to do really 3 full eras of Star Wars
Sure.
within them. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's
It is pretty astounding. I also have a great appreciation for it's kind of like Marvel, in the sense where it's really tough for them, or not tough for them. It's like they don't very often make continuity errors. And in this last season being so closely related to specifically the Revenge of the Sith, like that, it would have been so easy for them to have made a few mistakes, and it just is so seamless, like the connecting it so well to like where they have like the holo meetings and they're showing us the other side of the holo meeting, you know, like which is such a fun detail, and also just and new details that connect it to the you know, the other parts of the Star Wars universe. Like we see the oh gosh, from Rebels, Kanan. Yes, before he became Kanan.
Who's his Depa Balaba? Is that?
I think
that's
that
Kanan's
sounds right.
master.
Yeah, and
somebody who's originally on the council that we see it. Yeah,
and they're
I think
standing around the holo table or whatever and discussing things, and you can just see him just standing there. I mean, of course, you know, you might not know who he is, but the, you know, Star Wars nerds are like, oh,
yeah,
it's very, very fun. And oh god, I just thinking about all these little nuggets that I'm remembering in my head now. Musical cues galore, which is so fun. But like, I think it was in the Siege where Ahsoka is like talking to, oh gosh, what's his name? And he's like dying basically, and kind of revealing to her that they want that the Emperor wants Anakin, or and he says like Skywalker as he's like dying, which is basically exactly what Yoda says like as he's dying in the same exact way almost. And then you hear in the background the same the like that they played when Darth Vader takes off his mask for the first time. Wow. I just remember hearing that and seeing that and getting so many chills. I'm just like, oh, they know exactly what they're doing. It's very...
And it's very apparent. You kind of see the adversarial relationship kind of take form. Mace Windu doesn't want to include Ahsoka in any military planning.
Right.
Because she left the Order.
Yeah.
She's a civilian now. And...
yeah, the on like the final kind of holo meeting that they had, and he just like the way that he calls her citizen,
condescending,
is, like, so biting and yuck.
But then to see Obi-Wan level with her and kind of start telling the truth about what, they both have a very candid conversation about kind of what they feel is going on, and it's,
you know what,
it's very eerie.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point too, because like I think another thing that Filoni did Obi-Wan a solid, like his character arc for the prequels really, really got enhanced because you know, if you watch the prequels just like, you know, on the outside, it's like, yeah, sure, that makes sense, but then also you start asking yourself questions about like how did Obi-Wan not know about Anakin's relationship with Padme? Like, you know, they're so close, like basically, you know, eat, sleep, and breathe each other, and like he doesn't know. But in this show, they very much confirmed that he absolutely did know. And
well, not only
knows.
that, he knew, and he allowed for it because he did it.
Yeah, he didn't tell anybody. So it enhances their relationship so much more because like, you know, because that's what a good friend would do. Maybe, you know, like, because it's complicated. Like, you know, he knows that it probably isn't good for him and probably will lead to bad things, but he knows how much it means to him. Or it makes you really wonder what's going on in Obi-Wan's head.
Obi-Wan is the Padawan of Qui-Gon
Right.
Jinn, and if there's one thing about Qui-Gon Jinn that we know, it's that he didn't always play by the rules as far as the Jedi Council and their dogma was considered.
He
passed that on to Obi-Wan. This way, I could imagine Qui-Gon Jinn having loved somebody more than platonically, more than the kind of general Jedi, you know, general love Jedi are supposed to express. And Obi-Wan does it with Satine, Bo-Katan's sister,
right?
And And it absolute. By the time you get to Alec Guinness in A New Hope, it is very clear that man is suffering from some PTSD.
Yeah.
And if you watch that scene with Luke where they're in his living room and he's talking about Anakin Skywalker and
the
Clone Wars and just this dead look in his eye, like this just glazed over look. And then you can go back to Clone Wars and remember that Maul murdered Satine. Anakin falls to the dark side. Obi-Wan then is hunted by Maul. He has to fight him, avenge him, and then forgive him. That he's capable of all of that.
Yeah.
Just
makes me very excited for the Obi-Wan show, you know?
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
My goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Well, let's take a little brief break here from Clone Wars and
talk about our sponsors. No, we don't have any sponsors, JK.
We're about we don't have any
we like
of those.
them, so please send them our way.
What are you two most excited about in this upcoming year of Star Wars content?
Well, wait, I don't necessarily know if it's within this year, but yeah, just
on
in the
the
horizon in
It
general.
can just be on the horizon.
Probably it's kind of a tie between the Ahsoka show and the Obi-Wan show, I think. But if you're gonna put a gun to my head, probably the Ahsoka show. Honestly, yeah.
Okay. All right, Dino.
Yeah, I
mean, Mandalorian season 3 is gonna be fucking dope too, probably. But I mean,
I'm leaning Ahsoka show because we're gonna get allegedly we're gonna get live action Ezra Bridger and Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Thrawn. Our big blue
cast
boy.
Who they need to cast for that role, then it's going to be Nails.
Bitch.
But I will say, I think right now I'm gonna say Obi-Wan because they have insinuated that he and Vader meet.
Oh, I mean, just having both of those actors back in the same room together. Wow.
Well, yeah, giving Hayden Christensen, call it whatever you want, but basically a redemption story.
Totally.
As far as fans are concerned.
Well, and you know,
armed with good writing.
You bring up another interesting point about Anakin's humanity, like because in this last season, you know, we don't really get to see, like once he got the helmet on, you don't see his face until he takes the helmet off. But they did a really clever and cool thing, like in the last frame that you see, him like looking up into the sky at the owl or the bird or whatever it is that like may or may not represent you know, Ahsoka, and you can see through the red, you know, eye lens, and you can see his actual eye, which is like very, very cool.
Yeah, so I'd have to say the Obi-Wan series because once we get to A New Hope, we assume the last time they saw each other was Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, right.
And
yeah,
in the flesh, at least, yeah.
Well, in the flesh, but I mean, it's assumed that's the last time. Like, we assume Obi-Wan didn't necessarily know Anakin became or looked like that.
Right.
Like, when would they have encountered one another? And now we're gonna find out.
Yeah, I guess it's just like I will be interested to know, because in the original films, I don't know if he never. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that he ever like assumed that Obi-Wan was dead per se. Like maybe he knew he was alive, but he was just missing.
Yeah, I don't think he assumed he was dead.
So that maybe they're changing, like, at least, like, they're making it more specific, like, oh, no, like, Anakin or Darth Vader totally knew that he was alive, but, like, just knew that he was, you know, off the radar.
Yeah, I'm more confused from Obi-Wan's perspective of when he encountered Vader, because the discussion they have is, when I left you, I was but the learner, now I am the master.
Right.
And really, it was the other way around. Obi-Wan left him. I mean, Anakin abandoned the Jedi Order, but Obi-Wan literally left him to die.
Right.
So I wonder when we find out. I guess this series is going to paint the picture of when Obi-Wan realizes, oh my God,
Darth Vader is Anakin.
And he's not dead.
Right. Yeah, that's going to be dark as hell. Oh
Obi-Wan
my
never
God.
gets confirmation that Anakin is. We haven't seen it on screen.
Truly dead.
He
Yeah.
doesn't get the confirmation that, oh my God, it's.
That's going to be heavy.
Yikes.
What
Oh
about
my
you,
gosh.
Alyssa? What are you most excited for?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's got to be a two-way tie between Ahsoka and
But
Obi-Wan.
I'm gonna put a gun to your head. Now you must
I have
choose.
to choose. Okay.
You don't even.
If I have to choose.
Sorry, not a gun, a blaster. We're gonna
I
do
will
a Star Wars blaster to your
Thanks. Yeah. Thank you. A blaster. I will choose
Nice.
Obi-Wan. Yeah. Just because.
head. That's so fair, because I
Basically-
mean, like,
Yeah, but I mean, I'm so excited for everything else too. Like we're so freaking lucky. Like I'm super excited for the Andor.
oh yeah, the Andor show too.
as well.
Jeez.
Like, yeah, there's so much
we're going to be
greatness ahead of us. So
Well, and
exciting.
speaking of greatness ahead of us, so May 4th, we are introducing the sequel successor series to Clone Wars, The Bad Batch,
The Bad Batch.
which focuses on a group of clones which are introduced in the final season of Clone Wars, Clone Force 99,
Which is a reference.
The Bad Batch. Yes, it is a reference. So if you're confused as to who and what the Bad Batch are, the Bad Batch, Clone Force 99, are a group of quote-unquote deformed clones, enhanced clones, where something happened in the cloning process and
Deformed in
they
a good
look-
way.
they don't look like clones, but they have enhanced abilities. And they take the moniker Clone Force 99. It's based off a clone we see in the Clone Wars series, Trooper 99, who serves on Kamino. And something happened in the cloning process to him where he was deformed, he aged super rapidly, he's decrepit, and he basically works as a janitor on Kamino.
Yeah,
Like he does
he's such
kind
a
of
sweet
those kind
character.
of tasks. But proves himself super valuable when the Separatists attack Kamino and try to take out the Republic's cloning facilities.
And he died a hero.
He dies a hero, and so that gave
that's where they get their
they
names.
gave the name to this
Yeah.
this mutated group of clones. We could do a rundown of our roster here.
Yes,
So we've
do
got
it.
Hunter, and he's the leader of the group. He is really good with a knife. He is probably the most well-spoken of the bunch, or at least the most, I won't say well-spoken, mild-mannered. He's probably the least eccentric of the bunch.
Yeah, that's a good
Um,
way
He's
of putting
definitely
it.
like at least his character model is sort of modeled after oh god, what's his name from Predator? Like they're basically the same. Like the bandana around the head.
yeah.
Like yeah.
Yeah.
Very much like they're digging into a lot of action movie tropes, but in a great way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. This is like the Expendables.
Totally.
Kind of, yeah. So next you have Tech. He's the nerd of the group.
Yeah.
He's my favorite.
Super talkative.
I love
He's kind of the hacker computer guy. He does all of their technical stuff.
He's the one that's gonna say, "I'm in."
Yeah, just a well of both useful and useless information.
Right.
So yeah, he's a fun one. You have Crosshair. He's the sharpshooter.
Sharpshooter.
Really good with a sniper rifle. You need one of those in your team.
Obviously.
You have Wrecker, who is exactly what his name. He's the Incredible Hulk
he's the
of
tank.
this group. He likes violence,
But not heights.
not heights. But he enjoys violence, and he's funny.
He's violently funny.
She's
He's-
violently funny.
Funny.
And then you have the newest group member of the group, Echo. So
Right.
this ties into where we were introduced to the Bad Batch.
Yes.
In the basically the first arc of the last season of Clone Wars is when we get the Bad Batch are called in to rescue Echo, who was captured by the Separatists and basically plugged into a computer, and his brain was used as an algorithm to predict Republic tendencies, strategies on the battlefield, and gives the Separatists a leg up. They basically know what's coming.
Yeah, so that was kind of I loved that idea that, well, and they didn't really, we didn't obviously know that was how they were getting their information, but what they assumed was just because the clones, they're all clones, so they're just doing the same shit over and over again. Like, they all have, like, eventually the computers of the Separatist army, like, they all just sort of figured it out. Like, they figured out the algorithm that, like, they can just predict. So they needed more unpredictable people to help them, which would be the Bad Batch, because they're not your average clones. Yeah.
No, sir.
And that was a great way to start
Very clever.
Start that season, and it's really disturbing and macabre. I mean, he's been turned into a cyborg.
Yeah.
He's legitimately half droid now.
He's
his
kind of
brain was being used
yeah.
as a computer.
Yeah, it's
and it causes him great
It is
anguish.
very dark way to start.
Oh
the
my.
final season. I was like, oh, I know. I was like, oh, we're here.
And so by the time we
Okay.
get to the end of that arc, they've rescued him. They've won the Battle of Anaxes. When we see him, Echo joins. You get this great moment between Rex and Echo.
Yeah.
And Echo just you can tell he's pale. He's had his brain put into a blender, and
Yeah, he does not
had
look
better days.
good.
and Rex kind of comes up to him and explains, you know where your place is, and if you think it's with those guys, I got to tell you, like, they're some of the best guys I've ever fought with. You should go with them.
Yeah.
And Echo does, and
Yeah.
he
And thus begins.
it's just kind of a cool finding your place story amidst
Yeah.
all of the heaviness. You see, he finds a place as kind of an odd duck with this group of odd ducks, and so we'll see what happens.
And even
as his story continues.
It would be weird. Well, no, I don't think it would be weird, but I think it's probably pretty safe to say, because that's basically where we leave the Bad Batch, if I remember right. You don't really see them again.
Yeah, no, Echo walks off with them, and
Yeah, that's the end of
the
that's the
end of
end of
their
their
arc.
arc.
So we don't really know how the Bad Batch deals with Order 66. So I feel like that might be the jumping off point for the show, just in knowing if it actually did affect them. Maybe just because they're they're not like your average clone, so maybe the chip that's in their head is defective too or something, so they don't conform with the Order 66. But yeah, I'm interested to see how they handle that.
Well, and it can be assumed from everything they've released about it thus far that they are serving the Empire at the start of this show. So we know at least whether the chip worked or not. They are basically getting a tryout as an Imperial death squad.
Yeah, really. It's that's such an interesting way to start this sort of, because they are heroes, but but they're fighting for the Empire. Wow. Yeah.
Right.
Very, very interesting.
And what ends up happening, and they've broached on this a little bit in some other canon stories, but the clones eventually get phased out for regular stormtroopers. And I wonder if something the Bad Batch does further accelerates that process, or prompts
like the tipping point.
Tarkin and whoever else at the top of the Empire.
We all know that Filoni loves filling in those little gaps in the storyline. I bet you're right on the money. Like, he's gonna, because nobody's ever really explained why they were phased out, and we just assumed, like, oh yeah, now we got the newer model and they're much better.
There were some Legends explanations, and the fact that they there's a practical standpoint of they have accelerated aging, so you're constantly having to reproduce them,
Replenish.
which is
Expensive.
difficult to do.
Yeah.
But I wonder what the inciting incident will be, or if it was, if they'll go really dark and be like the Bad Batch participated in Order 66, or
Yeah.
and they have to kind of live with that,
Woo!
and that's what kind of drives them away from
That will be dark. If that's it.
from the Empire. But that's where we left them. Echo joins them, and this will be the next time we see them, and a lot has
Quote unquote today
It happened.
when we watch the show.
and the series. Again, these are kind of minor spoilers, but you know this if you've seen any of the trailers, that Saw Gerrera is present.
Oh, yeah.
So you already start to see the seeds of him, a much younger Saw Gerrera, starting the seeds of rebellion really right after the Empire overthrows the Jedi.
And we are
and the
going to see
Republic.
him, or is that not confirmed? Are we going to see him in the that other show? Oh God, with Rogue One Man.
Oh, Andor?
Yeah.
Oh, in Andor?
I don't know.
Not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Based on Rogue One, I'm not sure Cassian
Knew
has
him.
ever,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
totally
I don't think
valid,
they'd ever
yeah.
run into each other, so I don't think so.
Probably not. Yeah.
But then you have
Oh, I just love
do
Rogue
too.
One so much.
It's
I'm so
just-
excited about that.
You guys.
It's so good.
It's a really good show. Really good
gosh
movie.
dang it, like it yeah, it's so great. And then again in the trailer we see Fennec Shand.
Mm-hmm.
You remember the rifle woman bounty hunter from the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. So we get to see her running in probably her crime circles.
Yeah, because we this again connecting it to the universe at large. So we're gonna find out basically I assume we're gonna find out that little side story that she mentioned, why she was why she's in trouble with what's it called? Basically what she said in The Mandalorian. I think that they're gonna maybe tell that story.
With the rebellion,
Yeah.
with the Republic.
Yeah, I mean she was she's one of Jabba's top hit people, so you can't imagine she's doing a ton of good stuff to earn that reputation.
Probably
That'd be
not.
So yeah, do you think that she's gonna be a protagonist or antagonist in this show?
Neither.
Neither. Somewhere in between.
I mean, we might view her
Yeah.
through the lens of protagonist because she
We see where she
helps
ends
the
up.
Bad Batch. Maybe, once the Empire turns on them, they encounter her at some point, and she helps kill some people, and
Yeah.
she's useful.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. I'm super excited to see her in animated form. That's going to be really fun.
And I mean, we
And-
don't have to talk about it at great length, but I'm actually curious too about the outside of the Bad Batch. So the next arc that they go in the last season that we really haven't talked about yet is the 2 scoundrels
Yes.
on Coruscant. Was it 1616? Is that what the section of the city that they're in?
1313.
1313, there you go. Which is a cute
Which-
reference to a video game that got canceled.
A video game we were
We should have had.
deprived of,
Damn it.
which was morphing into a Boba Fett game.
Could you even?
Yes, I will finish your sentence. Yes, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did
Yeah,
imagine
we
it,
did.
and
we got
I
robbed.
wanted it
But
so badly.
But yeah, so this felt like it because Bad Batch. I mean, like I immediately, even after the first episode, I was like, oh, they're very clearly, because I was like, this feels like at first I was like, this is such an interesting start to the last season, because it felt like they were basically introducing a new show. Like this was a pilot episode for a completely different show. I mean, it obviously relates to the story of the Clone Wars because they're in the Clone Wars, obviously. But yeah.
Yeah.
So this next arc, I was just like, oh, here's another show that they're gonna be doing a pilot episode for.
Trace and Rafa Martez.
Yeah.
And
Right,
Martez
but that's something
sisters.
we haven't had announced yet. So I'm curious whether or not maybe they'll show up in the Ahsoka show, or if they're going to have their own show.
Well,
or...
so the Ahsoka show takes place around the time of the Mandalorian,
right? So significantly
that's,
later.
That's decades later.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
So I
these
think-
ladies
Yeah.
could be, older. In
They
that
could
show.
be, but I think it might be more likely that they show up in the Lando series.
That makes a lot more sense to
or
me.
or
Sure,
Andor,
sure. That timeline
or-
wise, that
Because
yeah.
they do, don't they kind of make that clear in this arc that they did have a run-in with Lando at some point, right? Or
I don't remember, but just because they get thrown into the turf war with the Pikes and Crimson Dawn,
right, and moving
Yes.
the
like that's
the
all
drugs
very
or whatever, yeah.
solo Calrissian. So if we do see the Martez sisters in live action, I imagine that's kind of where they'll exist.
That feels right. But I mean, obviously
But
that
you're
arc
right,
was
the-
more or less just to like
A jumping
kind of
off point.
tell the audience that the overall view of the Jedi from the public is very complicated. It's not like there is no like good side,
Sure.
bad side. Everybody's just like, oh yeah, well, whatever.
And I think that's what, not to get on a tangent, but I think that's what High Republic is kind of doing really well in differentiating from
Yeah,
normal
I was
Star
just gonna
Wars,
say
in that the
that,
Jedi
yeah.
are revered and are widely known. People interact with them. They have a significant presence in daily life.
Right.
To where at the point we get to around Clone Wars and really the degradation of the Jedi Order, there's a hubris.
Right.
Unintentional, but there's a hubris. There's less of them, so they're unable to handle all the problems, and then people become jaded
Right.
by them.
Yeah.
So
Very interesting dynamic.
yeah, this final season obviously had enough material to spawn Bad Batch, but it's definitely planted the seeds of plot lines that are going to last for quite a while.
Yeah, it just it all felt it all felt very calculated. I mean, in the best way, you know what I mean? Not like I could see all the bells
not
and
in a-
whistles
not in
and
a bad
the
way.
wheels turning and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like because nothing about it was really like, oh, I knew this was coming because
Right.
I mean, obviously, we all know how Order 66 ends, but but yeah, it felt like when you saw a choice being made in the show, you're like, oh, this feels very purposeful. Like they hired these specific actors because they know that they're going to use them later for some weird reason, or I don't know. It's hard to say, but
And thank God that we have the Marvel version of Kevin Feige now. We've got
Right.
the Filoni verse because I trust that
Yeah.
man. I
we've
am so blown away by. I mean, he's just his like innate understanding of
His
Star
knowledge
Wars
is
as it
unbelievable.
is. So we are in
Yeah.
good hands, thankfully.
Allstate. We are not sponsored by
Yeah.
Allstate.
Also, I'm enjoying the High Republic comics so much. I highly recommend them. The first 4 issues are out, and the 5th issue comes out I think in the
High
middle
Republic?
of May. But
Yeah.
the High Republic comics, which are made by Marvel, but also there's another line of comics called the High Republic
Yes.
Adventures that IDW is making, and those are also fantastic. It's just like really, really cool to see the Jedi in a way that we've never seen the
Yeah.
Jedi before.
This will require a separate episode, but there needs to be a discussion about where the Darth Vader comics have just gone.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
Oh,
right. Yep. No, we're
yeah.
absolutely
That
going to
lit,
talk about
that
that.
lit the internet ablaze over the last couple
Oh
days.
my
I'm not even going to spoil it.
God.
We'll talk.
Yeah. Just all you need to know is that the newest issue of the Darth Vader comic,
Darth
that
Vader
came
number
out,
11 will live in infamy.
Did it come out on the 27th or
don't know, yeah.
28th? Anyways, really, really big info drop.
I'll just
in
say
that.
this: if
So-
you were one of the conspiracy theorists who thought the sequel trilogy was being erased,
That's not
like,
true.
Quite
Think
the
again.
reverse.
Ooh,
Friendos.
they are trying so hard to clean up shop.
Quite the reverse.
Yes. Absolutely.
Clean it up. We want the
But,
company impressed.
May the 4th should be a federal holiday.
I think you're right, and we
It
should all be paid.
Should.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll take it.
Paid in
Wow.
lightsabers and holocrons.
Well, is there anything else that you two need to say?
I have plenty of things I
say
need to
bye-bye?
say.
yeah.
You're not going
No.
to say them? Okay.
Because none of them are Star Wars related.
Oh, I see.
Holocrons and lightsabers.
Well, thanks. Yeah, thanks for celebrating May the 4th. We hope that you're doing something fun and Star Warsy.
Tell us what you guys are
maybe-
doing for your May the 4th.
Yeah, and if you have, money burning holes in your pockets, there's like every single company that makes Star Wars stuff is doing
Yeah.
May the 4th deals.
Or you can
So
just give it to us.
That's true.
literally need to like freeze my credit cards because
Dangerous.
Hasbro is a whole vintage line of action figures, and there's a new helmet that I really want. Anyways, I might buy myself something.
Yeah,
I
and honestly, I
want.
bought that helmet like, oh, this is a cute thing that'll sit. I have used that helmet a number of times.
And
It
it sparks
does.
joy. Okay.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yes,
need more of that.
absolutely. So we love
We
Star
do.
Wars. We love all of you for
And
listening
buckle up because
to
we're
us
doing
and joining
we're
in.
doing our Bad Batch recaps.
Yes.
Once this
Buckle
this
up,
puppy gets
kiddos.
rolling, so
Yes.
watch along with us. Catch up with Clone Wars if you haven't, or just listen to this episode and get the Reader's Digest version.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks so much for listening. This is Inside the Tauntaun, a Star Wars podcast. I'm Alyssa Simmons.
And I'm Daniel Dawson.
I'm Dino Nicandros.
May the Force be with you.
Always.
That's no moon. It's a space station.
Idiot.
Such a dummy. Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.